Monday Mornings with Matt and Kevin. These two will debate real-life issues from a Catholic perspective every Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern. Make the world Catholic again.
Well, welcome to the show. It's probably not Monday morning. Our show kind of got moved off Catholic Family Podcast over to the Traditionalists because Matt and I just aren't quite holy enough during Lent for a Catholic Family Podcast. So we moved over, kind of talking a little bit more about political stuff, topical stuff, and it just seemed a little more fitting on this channel. So whenever you're watching this, for sure it's going to be in the morning, and we certainly hope you're, well, maybe not enjoying a cup of coffee. Maybe you're giving that up for Lent. I don't know, maybe a cup of tea, maybe a kombucha, or maybe a cup of coffee. You don't have to give that up, guys. So it's a really good, I can tell you, if you do, be careful about giving up caffeine totally, because I tried that one year and no, didn't work. I was a nightmare.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I headaches. Yeah. I was a moody wreck. It's terrible.
Being around you was the penance for others.
That was it. I had to have it. But I tell you what works for me is black tea. It's not something I like as much, but it helps with the caffeine, and it's a good little penance for Lent. But anyway, Matt, good to see you. As always, we have some pretty interesting topics today. We're going to start with politics, talking about the future of the Democratic Party, which just hit an all-time low in their polls, which is pretty incredible, considering some of their lows, like Jimmy Carter. And we're going to talk a bit about the story about the pyramids, which is like sincerely one of the craziest stories I've ever seen in my entire life. So we're going to talk about that and maybe give our opinions, which I don't even know if I have one. Pretty weird stuff. But Matt, I think you may have seen this on X over the last day or so. I think it happened yesterday. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders visited Denver, unfortunately my home city, and got a huge crowd. And it kind of woke up the Democrats, like, yeah, this is the future. This is the future of our party. What do you think?
No, it's not the future of their party. First of all, I wouldn't doubt if a lot of those people are paid actors. It wouldn't be the first time that the Democrat Party has paid people to join their rallies or their outdoor events. There have been events by the Democrat Party in the past that have been likely photoshopped or AI'd. So the numbers don't match. Do I think that it's possible that quite a large number of people went to go see those two as some sort of political event or movement? Sure. When I went to the Trump speech, a Trump rally several years ago, there were a good portion of people there who did not like him, but were there for the experience. I think there's a lot of people who might have gone to these things just for the chance to see Bernie Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez. The Democrat parties are in the Democrat Party is in shambles. Their numbers are in the tank. There is no light or hope for them unless they drastically change their policies. And I think that they could and they have to, because that's where the American people are just not settling with them anymore. But the thing that I've noticed the most is that a lot of the higher ups in the Democrat Party are missing the point. Both Senator Chris Murphy and another senator recently said the reason why their numbers are so low is because they're not fighting Trump enough, and the American people want to see the Democrat Party combat Trump even more. They're so what's the word? They're so displaced from reality. That's not the reason why. It's because they campaign on losing issues. They made the highlights of their whole campaign and mission losing issues, and they don't seem to be waking up to this fact. So I don't know. Do I think there was a large crowd for them? Probably. Do I think it was 34,000 people there? Honestly and truthfully in support of those two? Probably not.
Man,
what do you think? You seem to be a bit more of a reality.
I wish I agreed with you, but I actually think this is really interesting, because you've seen after the Democratic Party knows they have to choose. They're in a total mess, but part of it is because their party doesn't have a direction. They don't know, are we going to be middle of the road establishment, or are we going to be Bernie Sanders? And they don't know, and they totally split, and that's part of why they lost, because Kamala Harris wanted to be both, and you can't be both. You have to be one or the other. So Gavin Newsom, who absolutely was more like Kamala Harris, very, very left-wing, very extremist, has now started his own podcast and is totally becoming this middle of the road.
Don't believe it.
I agree, but he's like, that's what he's shooting for. I'm just this normal guy, just doing my thing. Just like, I'm just a totally normal Democrat, which obviously we know he has not been, but he's decided, okay, I need to shift towards the middle. Now, I think it's interesting because I actually do think that Ocasio-Cortez is going to be the face they're going to look for. Now, she is not the sharpest block of cheese, but she does have some charisma. She does have some of her own beliefs, which I do believe, and she looks good on camera. And she's, minority, and she's a woman. So she's going to have a lot of things behind her, and she is better than Kamala. She is. I mean, like Kamala, which is kind of funny because wasn't she a bartender before she became a politician? Kamala was, this big
McDonald's
time
worker.
Yeah, maybe right. McDonald's worker, exactly. But she was a big time lawyer and whatnot, attorney general, and she's not an intelligent person. You see that come off very clearly. But I actually think Ocasio-Cortez has more behind her. I actually think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be Newsom and Ocasio-Cortez, and I'm telling you, if they actually let her. Like they didn't let Sanders. Sanders was pushed out when Hillary was running, and he would have won.
He was.
I think he would have beat Trump. I think he would have beat Trump.
I think so too. I think, so.
And I think if they let him run with Ocasio-Cortez, maybe vice president, maybe just this Yoda type, mentor. Man, I don't know, Matt.
Well,
I think they could be something.
I think the American people have to see results. I think the Trump administration has to deliver. Part of the reason why Trump won is because American people were tired of prices. They were tired of inflation. They were tired of gas prices, egg prices, cost of living, housing, everything. Not a single aspect of measure of the economy was good or strong. And that's why Trump won. So I think Trump has to deliver. And I think if he does deliver or is delivering at the time of the election, I don't see why the American people would change paths. I think they would still see the Republican Party would do well to remind the American people as to what the economy was like and what it was when Biden and Obama were president, were in charge, and Kamala as well. So I think as long as Trump and Vance deliver on a lot of these campaign promises that they made, which according to a lot of polls, people are happy with what they're seeing so far. I think if that keeps up, I don't think the Democrat Party has a chance. There's always this scope of hope and energy for both sides, and I think that sort of comes along. I remember when they thought Marco Rubio was the savior of the Republican Party, Barack Obama was the superstar. Well, they better look out because Marco Rubio is coming. They better look out because Bobby Jindal is coming. That was the talking point at one point. The Republican Party is going to just demolish the Democrats in the upcoming election because Bobby Jindal will leave his post as governor of Louisiana and run for president. That never happened. I think there's steam behind some of the Democrat talking points with AOC, which I think are valid, but I think we're kind of just in the fields right now. I say in 3-ish years, I don't think it's going to be as big of an issue as you're seeing. It's just the way there's theater to this. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, let's take out the idea of Trump losing or winning, but let's just say just the Democratic Party. So if Trump, let's say he keeps going on the path he's going on now, so he keeps enforcing these pretty extreme measures compared to the last 20 years. So if he keeps doing that, what's the Democratic Party going to do? Are they going to move towards Trump or away from him? And I actually think they're going to move away. I think that is what I don't think so. I don't think so.
I think there is, if I can use this term, because I think it describes it well, there's a schism in the Democrat Party. There is a far left wing socialist bloc of the Democrat Party that was at this event with Bernie Sanders. There's a large portion, a much greater portion of Democrats who want nothing to do with this. They are absolutely removed from this. So they're going to have their far left progressives, their 72 genders, socialized medicine for everybody, free healthcare for all. They're going to have a big millions of voters who support that. That is not the core of the Democrat Party, which is why when you say, oh, look, 30,000 people at the rally. Kamala Harris had 75,000 people at a rally in D.C. She got wiped out in the general election. These numbers are still small when you relatively compare them to the scope of things. So I think it's not like this massive wave of voters went to go see Kamala Harris if 34,000 was even real. There's a portion of Democrat voters who are just far leftists. They are absolute, whether you call them anarchists or whatever, they're just far leftists who Kamala Harris was too moderate for them in a lot of ways. They want Bernie Sanders. They want AOC. There's that portion of the Democrat Party. There's a lot of Democrats. I know for a fact there's a lot of Democrats who would go with Vance or Trump over this far left wing because they saw what it campaigned on. They saw how bad it was, and a lot of people woke up. I think a lot of people woke up and.
Yeah, but no. See, I think they saw I think they associate Kamala with Biden. They associate her more with the middle of the road. So I think that's going to. I think it's going to be what sinks Newsom. I think people have a better view of Bernie Sanders than they do of Biden now. So I think they think, okay, Biden, we tried that whole establishment thing. It didn't work. So now we're going to go to this guy who has different ideas and he's going to try to help the little guy and all these different things. That I think that they may convince your Democratic base that the change they need is Bernie Sanders.
Well, I think, which is why when you look at what's your overall view of the Democrat Party, right? Approval ratings were in the 20s. They're lowest on they're lowest on record because that. Sorry, I just got caught in my braces here. My lip just got caught in the line. Part of being Italian and always talking and having these things.
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought. 20-ish% in the approval rating, right? The American people as a whole do not approve. Yeah, people are going to love Bernie Sanders. People are going to love Ocasio-Cortez, but those are the far left wingers that I don't think make up a large proportion of the Democrat. I know you're not. I don't think you're agreeing here, but I don't see it that way. I don't think that many people who are honest, sincere, quote unquote Democrats believe all this stuff. Which Ocasio-Cortez, they're going to campaign on all of that. All this radical. But
when they say they're against the Democratic Party, what are they against? Because nobody knows right now. They're against this kind of blob of Joe Biden, who's like.
Well, I don't think that. No, I don't see it that way.
That's another weird thing. Where's Joe Biden? Did he die?
Oh, he actually. I saw a video of him at a. No,
doesn't
exist. A video of him at a restaurant, and he was typical. Where even am I? But no, I don't see it. I see it differently from you. I think that those 20% of people are not happy with the Democrat Party being this far left. Socialist movement that they saw it as, because again, that's what they campaigned on. Whether Kamala was middle road or not, they campaigned on all of these radical things, the DEI, transgender issues. This is what they campaigned on. I think that these are the issues that Ocasio-Cortez is probably gonna spew out of her mouth at some point, because she's been an advocate for those things at one point. Also, I think she will be exposed in a debate with Vance. I think she was when she was on a committee in Congress. Tom Homan, who was, I don't know if he was what he was doing at that point, but him and you can find it on YouTube. Homan and Cortez were exchanging some words, and he embarrassed her in front of. He's good too, but he embarrassed her in front of everybody. Vance versus her would be an absolute disaster for her and for the Democrats. She speaks before she thinks. She doesn't know as much as she thinks she knows. And Vance is just very talented at both debate and just very knowledgeable, very, very sharp, very witty, polished, smooth. I think even just how it looks, how it people perceive it, I think Vance will probably handle her. If it even gets to that point, it probably won't.
That I agree with. No, I do think Vance is setting up to be. I mean, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But I think the way, as you said, he's gentlemanly, he's smooth, he's smart, he's a really good debater, and I think Americans are actually trending towards being isolationist, and I think even Democrats. I think a lot of them are just like, hey, we don't want this stuff. I mean, like, didn't they have? I saw somewhere. I don't know who did the poll, so totally off the top of my head, there was a poll where they're talking about getting out of NATO. And it was, I forget, 65% or 70%, which I don't remember who it was by, but that's incredible. I mean, back a couple of years ago, I don't think I couldn't have imagined that. So that's saying, hey, we want out of Europe pretty much. You know, we don't want to have anything to do with you guys. Figure it out on your own. And you've seen in Europe, Germany just put in, I think, $1 trillion or $500 billion or euro spending to upgrade their military and other things, infrastructure and whatnot, but a lot of it to make sure that they can have a military again, because I think they understand that America is serious. America is serious about being isolationist again. And I think if Germany thought it was only Trump, they could wait it out. But I think they saw Vance in Munich at the security conference, and they're like, oh crap, this guy's going to be president. And we're done. Like they're not coming back here. And I think my opinion of it, that's a good thing for everybody. I think isolationism is a good thing generally. I don't think it's not that simple, but in general, I think we should say, and that's what our entire country was founded for. It was founded to not be involved in foreign.
I don't know. I think maybe we should clarify terms. I don't know about isolationist or is non-interventionist. Isolationist would mean no trade. I don't think that is where we should go. Is that what you're saying? I think you froze.
It could be. Yeah, it could be. I guess isolation is probably more market rather than
because
military. Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Yeah, because isolationists, which is what Rand Paul and Marco Rubio really much debated in I think it was 2016 now at this point. But isolationist truly would be to cut yourself off from everybody, which nobody would really want to do. I think we should have free trade. I think we should have conversations. We should talk with them. It's one of the reasons why the Cuban Missile Crisis, was successful with Kennedy, not because he was an isolationist, because he was a non-interventionist. And I think that kind of really worked well, which is what I think really, really propelled a lot of American voters into this stance now is the war in Iraq. People were either middle school, high school age, a lot of voters now at that point, and they saw the lies, the deception, and the unbearable costs that gained us absolutely nothing. In fact, made it worse. And I think that war in Iraq really made the American voting public as a whole skeptical about any military intervention whatsoever, which was odd because obviously going into Afghanistan and using technology to kind of find Osama bin Laden was extremely popular. I think it was in the 80% people supported Bush going into Afghanistan, but then the numbers completely tanked when it came to Iraq. And Trump has teetered some lines with that as well. He's bombed a few countries here that, some people say, okay, that might have been an American interest, but there are a lot of people who are just like, we're tired. We don't want to hear this. Like, just stop. How can you have and I think Ron Paul was on his channel the other day saying, Trump is great with Ukraine. He doesn't want Ukraine and Russia to go be at war. He wants a peaceful resolution here, non-interventionist U.S., not another penny. But then again, he touts some other things, especially with Israel. It's like we should be consistent if we're going to have that policy of non-intervention. I think it needs to be consistent. And
I think he doesn't have family members involved with Ukraine. I think he just has personal people who are way too connected, and he has a lot of money. It's just true. I mean, he is very connected to Israel. I mean, I think it's lying
relatives
if we don't admit it. Yeah, relatives, money,
Kushner, Ivanka's
funders.
husband.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just more personal, and I am totally against it too. I totally agree. Yeah. So I hope they move more and more away from that. We'll see. I mean, because we've seen these wars, Matt, as I'm sure you know, in Ukraine and in Israel, they've been going on for like thousands of years. Mm-hmm. They never end. They are like a continuous, never-ending war, and they will go on probably until the end of the world. I don't think that's even kidding.
Oh, I think so too.
So in the end, it's like, what are we trying to do?
What are we trying to do?
We're in it for our own agenda. We're just trying to get whatever, the presidents want. And that's ridiculous. Get out of there, get our money out of there. And for goodness sake, get our soldiers out of there. So we're not spending our lives for an endless war in the Middle East.
There's a book I held it up really quick. Dying to Win. The strategic logic of suicide terrorism. I just started to read this book because we were told lies in the early 2000s that they hate our freedoms. Remember that? They hate our They hate how free we are. That is such a lie. That is not true. They hate our presence there. And the author here, Robert A. Pape, I didn't start it yet. I just unwrapped it actually. But he explains the situation in the Middle East very well. And apparently, I didn't read it, but apparently that's what I'm going to be reading. He explains the situation in the Middle East really well, and gives you a whole new outlook as to why so-called why do they hate the West? A brand new perspective on it. So, Dying to Win, Robert A. Pape. Not necessarily my best Lenten reading, but still, still
read the Bible first, and then read about terrorism.
And then that. I think though, back to our whole original topic here. I don't know. I guess we don't have a crystal ball, but I don't know the future of AOC. I can see it going both ways. I can see her being a mega superstar, and I can see her kind of just fizzling out when it comes to actual polls and actual votes. I could see her finishing 5th or 6th in some of these things.
I just look at their party and think, who right now? Who? It's Gavin Newsom and it's AOC. There is no one else. There's no one.
Who's the Pennsylvania guy?
Shapiro?
The governor.
Yeah.
Shapiro.
He's sharp. Yeah. Okay. Maybe.
He's good.
If he puts his head in the ring, honestly, I'd be the most afraid of him. Yeah. That's fair.
Especially considering Pennsylvania, which is really a battleground state now. It's propelled Trump to victories twice. actually propelled a lot of Republicans to victory when you look back on it. It's hard to, but at the same time, they're probably saying the same thing about the Republican Party: is that Vance looks good, Vance looks sharp, Vance is going around the world, and a lot of American people are resonating that we're in trouble. I think they're saying the same thing about the Republican side. So
Sure.
I don't know. I think again, it's so early that a lot of what people see the year of an election year is far from the reality that happens in the election year. Do you remember it was supposed to be Condoleezza Rice as it was Condi Hillary in 08, and then people said maybe Giuliani, and he was the favorite until he didn't even campaign. He skipped to the first like 4 battleground states and said I'm focusing on Florida, got trounced there. So who knows? I truly don't think that if I had to pick, I don't see her becoming the mega superstar that some people think. I don't think she's going to do. I think when actual votes come in, just like, again, I bring his name before, but just like Ron Paul had a great following, a great base. When it came to actual voting time, he did terrible. I mean, he had a few highlights, but for the most part, he did terrible. And I think the same is going to happen with AOC. I think when it comes to actual votes, I don't see her performing very strongly.
So Matt, this is pretty crazy. Another totally other side of the news. One of the craziest stories I've ever seen, and I really mean that. Like,
mind blown.
I don't know anything else I've ever seen this crazy ever. Just seeing on news. Now, I don't know. Maybe something about it's not true. I mean, I don't know the full. This is just a technology that they're saying is what is real. So obviously, it's on the internet. Take it all with a grain of salt. But it seems pretty legit. So this is I'm just going to read a real quick summary of it from Historic Vids on X. They say archaeologists have discovered huge spiral-shaped cylindrical structures stretching over 600 meters, about 2,000 feet straight down beneath the Great Pyramid of Giza. These massive findings, located more than 2 kilometers, 1.2 miles below the pyramid's base, hint at enormous hidden constructions deep underground. There's plenty of videos you can watch on X and probably YouTube that give you a brief description of what this means. Matt, this is bizarre. And honestly, I don't know what I think.
To keep perspective, for people who are not quite getting it, almost think of like a long cone or a long maybe. Yeah, I guess you could say a cone with a tip on top, and that tip being the visible pyramid that we see. It goes underground for perspective at a depth that is taller than the World Trade Center. The World Trade Center was 1,700 feet. These tunnels are about 2,000 feet, so it's about 300 feet more. I think that if that is actually true, and that is what is actually there, they can't explain the pyramids themselves. How do you explain this? There's a giant building 2,000 feet high that the tip of this building is the pyramid that we visibly see on top of the earth.
I mean, how would you breathe? I mean, like, I can't even, like, the whole thing is so bizarre. Like, I can't even comprehend. Like, I've been down in a salt mine and and I've been down in catacombs, and this is, I don't know, hundreds of feet down. So it's pretty deep, but it's like feet. It's hundreds of feet down. We're not talking kilometers, man. This is like, I can't even fathom this. And again, like you said, we still don't know how they built the pyramids. And now it's like, okay, I'm not believing the whole alien thing, but boy, I tell you,
we're close.
I mean, it's like, okay, well, after this is like, okay, well, maybe, okay, now maybe it was aliens. I don't know, man. This is wild stuff. I mean, so either it was the most incredible building project in the history of man. It already might have been, honestly, now for sure. Or there's something that we don't understand. Now, I don't really know it. I mean, I think maybe, and this, I know people are going to turn this off because they think we're conspiracy theorists, but I mean, there are things in the Bible which we can't really understand in our time. When they talk about giants, they talk about the Nephilim. There are these things that, and I don't know what they are. I'm not pretending I do. But there are things that we in our time don't comprehend. We don't know what that means. Like, okay, what is that? Now maybe there's Bible scholars who can explain it to me. I would love if you can. Please do so in the comments. But is this made by giants or something? I mean, serious. What is this?
What do we even say? I mean, one of the things that I was thinking of was like, did they? I mean, because this might change a few things. Did they actually just make buildings that somehow a massive dust storm or who knows what, blew over and then covered everything. And but then how would it have just left the tip? That's kind of a strange,
and for that long time,
for that long
yeah,
time.
that's an
But
interesting
it's not.
question.
I believe it's not just the pyramids either. I believe the great what do they call it? The Sphinx also had like a 900-foot 1,000-foot tunnel or pathway underneath it as well. That
So I mean, obviously,
what is even here?
Another possibility is that this is modern. That this is done modern. But even I think it's almost crazier to think that okay, with modern technology, they built these cities underneath and made this whatever. But how? I mean, how do you do it? There's I'm sure there's millions of tourists every year. You can't just build a city underneath the pyramids without people knowing. So I think it makes more sense this was done in ancient times, and I don't get it, Matt. I mean, it's like I don't understand that. This is so bizarre. I would love. I mean, seriously, anyone in the comments, please go look this up and give me a reason. Tell me how this could be. I mean, and the imaging looks it looks pretty legit. I mean, it doesn't look like someone just like, oh yeah, see, look, there's it. No, it looks. I mean, it's not for sure. It's just imaging, obviously deep underground, but it's pretty convincing. And I mean, these things are pretty accurate now. Finding old war monuments or bodies or whatever, and so it seems it's real. And I think it does. Honestly, I've seen posts saying this has us questioning the history of all humankind, and it's like, yeah, maybe it does. I mean, it doesn't question. Of course, I don't question my belief in God or creation, but it makes me really wonder what on earth was going on in Egypt, and what else do we not know from ancient times?
Sometimes it makes you wonder, like, is it so complex that we can't do it, or is it so simple that we're overthinking? Who even knows the answer to that basic question? In the article that I pulled up, it said that it was always understood that these pyramids were built using fairly simple tools just to actually shape it and manual labor. But now this completely just turned the whole thing on its head, because not only are there apparently these cones that are 2,000 feet long and hold up the pyramids, but there's designs on them, like there's there's additional art. Who knows what's in it? I probably know no one's explored them or been down there yet, but so apparently you go into the pyramids and now you can drop like an elevator or something, or an escalator or whatever. Either one, I don't know.
Crazy.
It's just like I think this has baffled people for as long as they've been known in existence, but now I mean things have just been turned around. I've always had an interest in Egypt as well. When I was a kid, these especially interest me. And somebody has a graphic here. A giant underground structure was found under the pyramids of Giza. It's hard to fathom how mind-blowing this is. So these structures, they look like pillars. Actually, it's a very good word to use. They look like pillars. They're taller than the One World Trade Center, than the Statue of Liberty, than the original Twin Towers and the Empire State Building. And then I can't see this word here, the Burj.
Burj Khalifa.
That you talk much taller than that. I mean, think about the technology that went into place to build these high-rise skyscrapers, and they're nothing compared to what is underneath.
And there's what, like 6 of them or something like that, or 9 of them. I forget, but I mean, it's.
I'm not sure if it said
it really is, guys. I mean, you look even a little. I haven't dug into this that much, but I'm kind of. I used to be kind of a fan. I mean, Egypt is very mysterious, right? It's very romantic.
It is mysterious.
There's a lot of things that are. It's interesting because we see a lot of the images, but there are a lot of things we don't know. But obviously, it's also interesting because it does connect with the Bible. Like we can connect, obviously, Egypt with Moses and lots of stories. Yeah, exactly. There's lots of stories in the Bible, so that makes it obviously it connects with our faith. But again, it makes it so strange. And obviously, the pyramids were built far, far before Moses. So it was a long time before that, long time before Christ. And so these are truly ancient, but it makes you wonder. I mean, like the Tower of Babel. I think we think of the Tower of Babel being just kind of this normal tower. Well, Matt, how high maybe was the Tower of Babel? Maybe it did reach not literally heaven, but I mean, maybe it was in the clouds. I mean, I think that's
imagine.
I know
that's true.
I mean, I think we just consider ourselves in the greatest of times. We're the most superior. Really? I mean, maybe thousands of years ago, they were just had some things they knew better than we do.
I remember thinking the Tower of Babel was probably like 50 feet. Like they probably built up a little bit. But no, maybe you're right. Maybe it was thousands and thousands. I mean,
Why not?
If they had this BC, right? The pyramids are supposedly BC.
Way BC. Yeah.
Way BC.
Thousands of years.
What how high did they really get? Fascinating. And these, I think it's great to study, and I think there's a lot of technology and science behind it. I truly believe that we will never know a lot of things that reasons why. I think there's just some things
or how
or why. There's no apparently, we spent many years looking. There's no guide to this. They didn't leave any here's how we did it book anywhere. I think we've talked about this before. There are some things on the earth that will remain a mystery forever until there's no amount of technology or study that's ever going to prove how they were the dinosaurs. If we even, want to go that route, how did they perish? If that was even a thing,
did they exist?
Did they exist? Did they?
Interesting theory that they did not.
There's a great talk, not to go into Novus Orderland, but Hugh. It was with the Fatima Center, but the I can't remember his name. Where he does a little talk about this on how he believes that man and dinosaur coexisted. And apparently there's a lot more evidence to that than we think or believe. But who knows? There's so much that I think that we just won't have the answer to on this earth.
You never know.
We are here to marvel at it.
We might find out who killed JFK, but I actually think the more you see this, the more it looks like, nope, it's the same. That'll be a mystery. We will never find out, because even if Trump wants to, release it, and they actually are going to release what they have, if it was the CIA, they wouldn't keep the documents. It's the CIA. They're not
exactly right. They're going to destroy the evidence.
We murdered the president, and now we're going to keep that in a file.
Let's put this in the vault.
Yeah, exactly. Let's put it in the the file box here with Auntie Jane. Who can protect it. Now, if they did it, you're not going to have documents for it. If it was the Israelis, if it was LBJ, which I believe it was, the government with the CIA. Maybe the Israelis. That actually makes sense. Because they wanted nuclear weapons. Anyway, that's a topic for another day, I suppose. But I don't think we'll know. Not for sure.
Just a brief topic or a brief talking point on that, because I saw this poll, and it's amazing how much public opinion changes as years go by. Just last week, the question was, do you believe that Lee Harvey Oswald killed Bobby Kennedy? If you go back to the time, John Kennedy. If you go back to that time, probably most of Americans believe that. Today, so that they levied the responses by how sure are you that it was not him. Over 60% of Americans say that it was absolutely not him, which is staggering, because that was the common opinion. Probably almost everybody believed that was it was almost truth. Lee Harvey Oswald killed John Kennedy. That was just fact. Now 60% of Americans are sure that it was not him. Like, weird how public opinion changes and how media can influence it.
I think COVID was a lot of that. I think COVID and Trump, they just people saw, a lot of things with COVID just turned out to be just lies, and now they know. It's like, okay, well, what else? What else did they lie about? And then when you really look down that rabbit hole, like, well, they could have lied to us about everything. Obviously, it can go too deep and it turns you into a black pillar. But yeah, I mean, I think it is oftentimes they're just gonna yeah, that's not true. And it's the JFK thing is so silly. The whole Warren Commission was run by the guys who are trying to cover it up. I mean, they were investigating, quote unquote. It's so silly. I mean, it's like how Pfizer will fund the companies that do research into if a vaccine is safe. So the vaccine creator does. It's not even kidding. It's actually, or banks will fund the companies who are supposed to be the watchdogs of the banks. That's not kidding. This is real. This is our society. It's totally corrupt. The people who run it are all just, they're just paying off politicians. They're paying off the police. They're paying off the people who are supposed to be watching them. And I hope it does kind of seem like he's trying to fix that. We'll see. Some things. I mean, some things it looks like he's like, hey, we do want to get the rod out. Is he actually going to do it? We'll see. He's got time. I hope it is. I hope he does at least bring down some of these dirty, rotten scoundrels.
I think one positive. There's so many aspects to his administration. Everybody has a different role and different job to play. But I really like. I've eyed a few things that RFK is doing, and he's really been active in meeting with people, talking, working to remove things. This is not an instant fix. Some people think that, like, just because Trump and his team is president, that on day one we need immediate results. That is not going to happen. It could take years. to see. And RFK was saying, 2026, 2027, we're going to start to see some dies pulled out. This is a good thing, and I hope it continues to. I hope it keeps on going.
Right. You can't just go and say to Coca-Cola, hey, you
by the way,
you can't use this anymore starting tomorrow. Coca-Cola will be out of they won't be a company anymore. And then you're going to have a big problem. You're going to have tens of thousands of people out of work. They're going to sue you. I mean,
right.
we all think of this because we're armchair quarterbacks. We're like, well, why didn't you just?
We're an instant generation.
Yeah.
Now.
Exactly. And I mean, doing things even as Trump has done by executive order, I think sometimes that's actually, let's remember that for next week, Matt, because I would really be curious. I think we're running out of time now, but to talk about what they did sending these criminals to El Salvador, because that's a really interesting topic. And I'd like to hear your opinion, but let's save that for next week. Sure. Because I think that's a very nuanced topic that I can see why people would love it and why people would hate it. So we'll save that one for next week. So guys, make sure that you join us for the show next week. That'll be again here on The Traditionalist. Make sure you tell your friends that it's over here, not on Catholic Family Podcast, at least during Lent. And we hope to meet you guys soon. And I would really seriously, everyone, please comment what you think about the pyramids. I mean, do you think this whole news story is a hoax? If it's not a hoax, how on earth do you think it happened? I'm really curious to hear smarter people than me comment on this and tell me how they think it could have been, because I have no idea. And I think Matt and I are both kind of like, well, who knows? We may never know. But if anyone has opinions, I'd love to hear them. And again, until next week, we'll see you guys then. Matt, enjoy yourself. We'll see you next. I don't know when. Maybe Saturday, Sunday. Take it easy, everybody.